All right, we're gonna start the meeting tonight. We're gonna have 4 public hearings tonight, the first of which being a joint public hearing with the village board. And then after that, we're gonna lead into the plan commission meeting. So during the public hearings, I'll read it off. The applicant will have a chance to present what they have, and we'll open up for discussion. If there's any questions, the board will write that down, and we'll go into a period where the board will ask the applicant questions at that point. They'll be addressed, and then if there's any more, we'll open it up again for the public to speak. After that, then we'll lead into the plan commission meeting. All right. So we will then open up the public hearings with a roll call
President Osterman,
here.
trustee Plotecker. Here. Inspector Ilhafen,
Here.
Commissioner Mouche,
Here.
Commissioner Howard. Here. Planner Sumwalt,
Here.
Attorney Macy,
Here.
Engineer Lysis is present and in the audience. Administrator Nicholas. Here. Trustee Beal. Here. Commissioner McCormick is absent and Clerk Capazzo Catch is present to record the minutes. And Commissioner Everly, I already had you checked off, sir.
All right. Notice was given that public hearings would be held by the Lisbon Village Board and Plan Commission on Wednesday, March 22nd, starting at 6:30 p.m. at the Richard Young Fire Station at North 54 West 26455 Lisbon Road to solicit public comments on the following. We have our joint hearing number 1, a request by owners applicants David and Cole Berg to rezone the eastern half of the property located at North 71 West 22371 Good Hope Road, LSBT 0237.978. From County Shoreline M2 General Industrial District to County Shoreline R1 Suburban Family Residential District. The purpose of the rezoning is to match the existing zoning on the western half of the property. The village is processing this request under the County Shoreline Zoning Ordinance because upon incorporation, the village is required to administer the County Shoreline Zoning Ordinance until such time as the village adopts a village shoreline zoning ordinance. All right. Orin, you want to start it off?
Sure. Request for the rezoning of parcel.
You want to, I think your mic's on.
Sorry. This request for rezoning is for a split zoned lot, partially county shoreland, M2, partially town now village. R1, the applicant is requesting to have the entire property be R1. The property has a single family home on it, which is consistent with the existing town zoning of R1 and the proposed zoning of R1. The property would be slightly non-conforming to the average width. 150 feet is the minimum requirement. They're 143.72. The proposed rezoning will not increase that existing non-conformity. The building does conform, the home does conform to the setback and offset requirements. And the existing single-family home, as I said, conforms to the county shoreland R1 district setback and offset requirements for the proposed rezoning. That's really all I have. The applicant is here this evening if there's any questions for them.
Anything you'd like, the applicant would like to state before we release it to the commission?
I'm good.
If you want to speak, you just have to have you come up because we're on a Zoom meeting tonight. And I don't know that the microphone is on.
Oh. I think we all know this
Can you just state
situation.
your name, please?
Oh, Nicole Berg, BERG, North 71 West 22371 Good Hope Road, Lisbon, Wisconsin. I just think that this is a long issue that we've been having there, and the R1 would be perfect for everyone in that area. So if I don't know if anybody has questions for me.
We'll open it up now. Anything from the commission or the board? Linda, anything? Jeff?
No.
Sherry?
No.
Brian?
No.
Joe?
No.
Becky?
I would just like to say that I did hear from one of your neighbors and they are very much in favor of this rezoning. And I told him that I would impart that to the commission, so.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone on Zoom wishes to speak for this public hearing?
If anyone on Zoom wants to speak, please use the raise hand function.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak for this public hearing tonight? If you do, just step up to the podium.
I'm good.
No, yeah. All right,
No hands raised on Zoom.
like anybody is here for this one. Any final questions from the board? No. No. All right. We will close that public hearing then and open up public hearing number 2. Request by applicant Catlin LaJoy, Brian Bruin Building Corp. On behalf of owner John Willinger, EV Wisconsin LLC for a major grading conditional use permit in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District related to construction of a new industrial equipment sales service and repair facility on the property located at North 62 West 22356 Richard Road, LSPT 0241.999.012. The applicant is here. Start off with Warren.
This request is for a major grading permit CUP in conjunction with an approximately 46,605 square foot new industrial equipment sales and service building. This is located in Business Park East on the south end of Richard Road. The proposed project exceeds the minimum requirements of disturbing more than 6,000 square feet or 60 cubic yards. Hence the request for the major grading CUP. The representative of the project is here this evening from Brian. And I'll defer to Mitch if there's anything else that he wants to go over.
We completed actually several reviews of this property. Sent over our first reviews to the engineer. They made some corrections. There was very small minor things that we're still looking for responses for. But we had just sent over that final review about a week and a half ago. So still waiting on those. That would be part of the condition to approve.
Anything from the applicant? All right, anything from the commission? No. All right, any comments from the public? Anyone here for this public hearing? Anyone on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
All right. Any chance for anyone to speak at this public hearing? All right, we'll close public hearing number 2, or public hearing number 3. All right, a request by Caitlin LaJoy, Brian Building Corp. On behalf of owner Larry Kelly, Attitude Holdings LLC for a major grading conditional use permit in the B4 Commercial Special Use Zoning District related to construction of a new dance studio on the property located at North 62 West 22113 Leeds Lane, LSPT 0241.999.006. Warren?
This project is also in Business Park East. The petitioner is requesting major grading CUP in conjunction with an approximately 10,535 square foot new dance studio building. This is on Leeds Lane. The proposed project would impact more than 6,000 square feet or 60 cubic yards. Again, a representative from Brian is here. And I didn't know, Mitch, is there anything you wanted to say regarding your review of the project?
We completed our first review on this about 2 weeks ago, sent it over to Chris Jackson, their engineer. Haven't heard any responses back at this point, but there was quite a few technical comments that were provided. I don't believe at the time that we received even their stormwater report that they had submitted that to the county. That may have been done at this point in time, but we'd be looking for the county's concurrence on this project as well as our review comments being answered.
Anything from the applicant? Any questions from the commission?
With the incorporation of the village, is the county doing stormwater, continuing to do the stormwater reviews, or how is that going to work?
Yes, we have to change our ordinance. There's current the way our ordinance is written and our agreement with Waukesha County, that we need to change our ordinance before that agreement would be null and voided. So I've talked to Leif Hoggy about that,
Yeah.
and still everything needs to go through the county at this point in time until we make some of those changes now that we're incorporated.
And then the county will be out of it.
Then we can get them out of the picture. He said that there's still some villages out there, still, having them come through the county, and some like it, some not necessarily.
Surprise. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? All right, open up to the public. Is anyone here to speak on this public hearing? All right, anyone on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
All right, final call for this public hearing. All right, move on to public hearing number 4 then. Request by Stephen and Kate Garman for an after-the-fact major grading conditional use permit in the R1 suburban single-family residential zoning district for the property located at North 61 West 26124 Brackland Drive, LSPT 0257.059, related to the installation of a swimming pool. Lauren?
This major grading permit request is on a residential lot in a subdivision, Celtic Ridge Estates. Site is lot 20. The applicant is proposing to build a 20 by 40 foot in-ground pool. And the excavation associated with the construction of the pool resulted in approximately 59,300 square feet of disturbance, approximately 24,000 square feet of that for the pool area, and an additional approximately 35,300 for topsoil stockpiling and construction access. Construction access is coming from an adjacent lot to the west, which would be lot 19 of Celtic Ridge Estates subdivision. Jason Slock, the property owner for that parcel, did obtain a minor grading permit from the village for the impacts based on the construction access component of the project that impact that property. So that's under a separate permit. This is an after the fact permit. The petitioner is here this evening. He's been working with staff on this since the building inspector, since it came to his attention. And we believe the plans are all in order and that the applicant is ready to move forward for approval this evening. Mitch, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay.
All right, thank you. You wish to add anything before I open it up for questioning from the commission?
Good evening. My name is Steve Garman. We reside at North 61 West 26124 Brackland Drive in Lisbon, Wisconsin. As was mentioned, we are asking for an after the fact grading permit. We did start construction of the pool. Once we started that construction, we realized very quickly that we had about 10 feet of topsoil where we were going to put that pool. And accordingly, didn't want to put the pool in topsoil for stinkage and settling purposes. Essentially the project, we moved the topsoil out as was mentioned, built a stockpile, and then used our own soil to build to essentially fill in that area. We did do every 12 inches, we did a compacting process to make sure that we had that settlement. And then we do have the full intention for the plans that were provided to return that property to substantially the way it was prior to that construction. I do greatly apologize for starting that construction prior to obtaining the necessary permits.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Jeff?
Well, the first question comes to mind, I'm sorry, walking off there. Did you understand how much earth moving was going to be needed for this project?
As we
From
started, we did not. As I mentioned, once we started digging and saw how much topsoil was there, and to get a flat surface, did then realize how much was going to be necessary to be moved. We had potentially talked about, plans with the grading folks of taking that soil out, bringing in fill, but for ease of access to material, we're advised to use the soil from our backyard, which is where the substantial move happened. Because we were essentially stockpiling and then returning it back. Honestly, I didn't think to get a grading permit because we were gonna bring it back substantially to what it was prior. Huge mistake on our part, and again, greatly apologetic for that,
Okay, thank you.
of course.
Sherry?
No comments?
Brian? Joe? No. Becky?
No.
All right, we'll then open this up to the public. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this public hearing? Anyone on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Is any other information we need added before we close this public hearing from anyone? All right, no other questions from the commission? All right, we'll then close public hearing number 4. During the public hearing at 6:50. All right, that'll bring us to our regular plan commission meeting. We're called to order. Item 2 then is citizens' comments. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on any item on the agenda tonight? Anyone on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
All right. So the next item would be approval of the minutes of the February 2nd, 2023 public hearing and plan commission. I'm going to ask that we table those into the next meeting. And we'll
So moved.
Moved by Jeff. Is there a second? Second by Joe. No discussion on the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 4 is new business. A, discussion and necessary action request by applicant Michael Lyric, Benchmark Land Survey on behalf of owners Terrence and Judy Reinders for extraterritorial review of a 3-lot certified survey map for the property located at North 83 West 28695 Center Oak Road, MRTT 0335.998, and recommendation of the village board of the same. And we did receive a request tonight to table this item.
Yes, written request by the property owner today via email.
At the wish of the board, would somebody make a motion to table until the next meeting, I'm assuming?
Yes, until the April 26th meeting.
My report, 60 days from.
Yep.
In 60 days of submittal, the board action is required.
Right, so do we have time to adjourn it to the next meeting? Maybe I didn't answer the question succinctly. So when do they submit it and when are we adjourning it to? I'm just checking.
Yeah, the property owner is the one that's requesting that we table it because Merton is tabling it.
Really doesn't matter unless you have a written extension from them. I mean, I don't want to get into
It-
that,
Did come via email. Joe's got it in hand.
but they need to extend our time to act on the CSM, not merely to ask us to table it.
Until the April 26th meeting is what they asked for.
Does that put us in timing?
Give me about 30 seconds, I can tell you. Is it on your report, Orin? The date that it was received?
No.
Says we will forward the changes to you and ask that we be on the April 26th agenda. Do they have to get it to us?
I'm only concerned that we have a time limit and that statute doesn't, they didn't specifically say we grant you an extension to act. So, you know, so the lawyer wanted to. Technical.
So could we motion to table this at this point to the next meeting? And then if need be, we'd have to have a quorum of a plan commission to meet again. But if they give us in writing that they're giving us an extension after this, that would satisfy them, correct?
Right, the other thing that we do is that have some communities, and I'm not saying you have to do this, that say we move to deny, we recommend to the, because it's going to the village board. So we know we have enough time at least to get it to the village board, I would assume. So pardon?
Correct.
So I would say you recommend denial to the village board unless the proper extension is granted. And then if the proper extension is granted, it's set over to the next meeting. So you don't have to call another plan commission.
Sure.
We received it on February 15th.
So they're gonna give us.
Yes, the date on this, yes. And does plan commission have 60 and the board 90? Is that how your ordinance reads? I believe the planner has indicated the state statute says we have 90 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Yeah,
I would be in.
so that would be
favor of
April
denying it.
16th, which is a Sunday.
Chairman suggested, then we don't have a problem, it's basically that, it's just a procedure.
Right.
I just don't want you to have to call a special plan commission meeting if for some reason they don't grant you the extension and they are. I doubt that they're playing any games, but we just need that magic language.
Okay.
Granted until, and give us enough time to get to the next board meeting. That's really the important part, is that they grant you until,
May something. What are they doing a motion to deny? Is that what you said?
it's a motion to deny unless the extension is granted to afford the village to act on it till May 11th. It's the day after the meeting. I always ask for the day after the meeting.
So
If the extension is granted, then it's tabled to the next meeting.
So moved.
Second,
That makes sense to everybody?
yes,
Made by Joe O, seconded by Joe E.
Got it.
It's not gonna get confusing at all.
I'm much on.
All right, so this was a motion to deny and not a motion to table. So is there any discussion on the motion to deny? Does everybody understand what's being stated here tonight?
Yes.
Okay, nobody's really looking to deny this, so to say, because we haven't really reviewed it any more than what's in our packet at this point. It's just procedurally, we need to do this just so that it protects the village. There was no way the first extraterritorial review was gonna go smooth. There was no chance. All right. All in favor of denying, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, item B, discussion and necessary action on the request by applicant owner Rob Pass and Bruce Hassler, H&H Auto, for approval of a 2-lot certified survey map and any applicable waivers as necessary for the properties located adjacent to County Road F and known as LSPT 0248.983, LSPT 0248.983.001, and LSPT 0248.976, and recommendation to the village board of the same. Hey, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen here. Bear with me just a moment. There we go. All right, the petitioner is requesting a 2-lot certified survey map on property located on County Road F. This is a redivision of CSM numbers 534 and 4641 and part of CSM number 4081. Essentially, the petitioners are combining 2 parcels, 2 tax keys into 1 lot. And the third property that they own would be the second lot of the certified survey map. This is at the request of the village to clean up a land division that was done via quitclaim deed through the county to create a 1-acre lot. That's kind of a donut hole inside of the rest of the property. This recombines the property that encompasses H&H Auto Parts. And this is part of a project that includes another item for a site plan of operation. Essentially, a new business entity is looking to purchase this business from Mr. Pass and Hassler, and that's the site plan of operation portion of this project, which we'll get to. The zoning of the proposed CSM is M2 General Industrial. The proposed lot meets the requirements of that, lot one. And the lot two of the proposed CSM is zoned M1. That's the portion that's actually along County F. And that meets those requirements. That's really all I have. We've got some boilerplate conditions that all of staff's comments, conditions, and concerns be addressed prior to signature of the certified survey map. And we've got a condition that the petitioner obtain an auto salvage business annual license from the village clerk for the associated salvage yard use. We do have the petitioners here this evening. If there's any questions from the plan commission.
Thank you. Joe? Microphone.
Okay, okay. I understand what is being done here, and it makes sense, but my only concern is, it appears that there is, and maybe this gets into more, well, it's part of the site plan and plan of operation. There's no stormwater facilities on these lots. So we have no way of capturing anything that happens on these lots. And I am concerned, given the operation, and I realize it's an ongoing business right now and has been for X number of years. But we don't have any type of stormwater facilities on any of this property. And if something happens, there's nothing containing that on that property. Is there any way that we can get something to take care of this? See what I'm worried about, Mitch?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're bad operators or the new owner is gonna be a bad operator or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, there's nothing to contain stormwater on this site or going off of this site.
What? I guess. This is a legacy property.
Right.
It's been here since before some of us have been.
Been that long?
If you want, you just gotta come up to the microphone and speak.
Hello and thank you. To address your
State
concern,
your name.
Bruce Hassler, 450 Cedar Court, Slanger, Wisconsin. Just to let you know, we've been here since '84. Absolutely every car that we bring into that building goes into the bays. All gas tanks are dropped, all batteries, all fluids, all mercury switches. All of the cars that are out in the yard, when it rains, you have more pollution in your parking lot out here than we have in the backyard.
Does, if I may ask,
Yes.
or I don't know if we've got, do they even have a plan of operation there now? What I'm saying, what I'm
Do they have
trying
an
to do is,
existing plan of operation?
yeah,
I believe they do.
or can we amend the one that the request that's coming in tonight to include exactly what you say? So that,
My partner and I know the owners and their family for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
They run as fine of an operation as we do, or even better.
I don't question that at all, sir,
Yeah.
whatsoever. All I'm saying is there some way we can put into your approved plan of operation what you just said is the procedure that happens, then it's taken care of.
Bill?
Anybody who wants to speak is going to have to come to the microphone. Okay. And this is a little bit, so we kind of got two agenda items here that are gonna kind of mix together. a
Right,
little
that's
bit.
what I'm,
Is it time? That's good or not?
Okay. State your name and
Yep.
address.
My name is Bill Morrison, Morrison's Auto Parts, president of the company, 6307 West State Road 59 of Edgerton. Kind of answer some of your questions and your concerns. I totally understand. We are part of the ARCCP, which is the Automotive Recyclers Cooperative Compliance Program, which is initiated by the federal government for stormwater runoff.
Right.
So through that, Konjorsky Enterprises or environmental out of Pewaukee, I believe they do our annual audits. So where they come in on an annual basis, they, do on-site inspections, monitor all the proper procedures for drainage, storage, and so on. So I think they're probably tied together, that's part of your answer. But I also understand it doesn't really answer what you're asking as far as the actual runoff of the property. But it does, as far as the maintenance of the property and so on, that's something that we do go through currently right now through the ARCCP.
I just want to make sure, and like I said, this isn't meant to be disparaging.
No, I
to
understand that.
Any of you guys, but I would feel more comfortable if there was something in writing as far as a requirement by the village to require you to contain stormwater on that site.
So some of the question is, so as it stood, like I said, it was kind of a legacy grandfathered, some people
Right.
use however you want to word it, I'm not sure, but now that the properties are being combined, does that change this? Now it's a bigger property. It's an M1 and an M2. Coming together, zoning doesn't change, but does this trigger anything on the stormwater end? Do they have to meet newer requirements? Like you have a building that's old, it meets certain requirements, and until you add on, it doesn't matter. Once you add on, now you have to bring it up to the more current code. Is this one of these incidents?
I would say that the lot 2 of the proposed CSM is a vacant undeveloped parcel. At whatever point in the future that would be proposed for development, that development would be subject to the village's current stormwater standards. That would be
Front 2 acres.
I mean, if in fact the existing operation on what I believe is lot 1 is, for want of a better term, which I hate, called grandfathered in, then it is what it is. I mean,
It would be lot 2.
I understand that, but I just want to make sure that we don't miss an opportunity to deal with this issue.
the existing proposal does not include any new development. So I don't believe there would be a trigger for existing stormwater requirements. Mitch, is that correct?
That's what I would agree with that.
Okay, if that is what it is, I mean, I can't make you do something you can't make you do, so.
I would add that something that came up during the course of the review, there is an existing berm along that the quarry put in place along the south and west portions of the site. So it does have that going for it.
That's what I mean. I think you understand where I'm coming from on this thing, and I don't want it to be people to think that you're doing something that it shouldn't be done out there. I just I like belts and suspenders.
It's good to be brought up though, because I mean, if something were to be, like if there's some kind of water that ran into the quarry, I mean, running through your property, it's got the benefit of being filtered by the ground. But if there's some kind of contaminant went in the quarry, that's pretty much right with the water table.
Could very well be there's only, a foot of soil over the top of that rock. I have no idea. I'm just speculating at this point, but if there's nothing we can do, then that's fine. Thank you for your comments.
More questions from the commission. Jeff, anything?
No, I do agree with the commissioner there. That area probably does have very high rock and things are going to be running off rather than soaking in. I think maybe it can be addressed in the plan of operation. If it's a new ownership, perhaps we can have a new plan of operation and add at least some verbiage like the gentleman cited earlier, say that these particular things are going to occur in terms of, dropping the gas tanks and, basically preempting any kind of spill by doing that.
Our compliance with these uh, say, not regulations, but the organization that you're referring to.
Sir, sir, you gotta come up here if you're gonna speak.
Maybe that would take them.
I mean, if you wanted to have it in there that we had to remain in the ARCCP, which is federally mandated, which monitors that, I mean, that would make sense, I guess.
Comply
if-
with their
if-
standards.
Yeah, yep, and say we go through an annual audit with that. So I mean, if that was something that kind of tied it together for you, I guess that would be something, I mean, we have no problem with that. In our township, we always leave our doors wide open. It's like somebody wants to come and tour the facility, we're happy to share it with them and see what it is that we do, so,
And that'll be in the next agenda item.
okay,
Coming,
all right.
More so than this one.
Yes. Okay,
So, yeah, we are on the CSM at the
CSM.
moment.
Yeah.
So, any other comments on the CSM?
No,
Sherry, anything?
No, my only comments were gonna be kind of similar is, if they were gonna change the footprint at all, then we'd need stormwater management, but if they're not changing the footprint, the operation's staying the same. I don't have any comments then.
Brian,
No comment, no.
Becky, anything?
Nothing.
Anything else, Joe?
no, not at all.
All right, so as far as the two-lot certified survey map. Is there anything else from staff? Any comments?
Just that in the site plan of operation application that the applicant filled out, under number 3, which gets into hours of operation and operating specifics, there is a detailed description of the proposed use that includes vehicles brought in daily, 1 to 4 at a time, vehicles set in an inspection area, which I believe is paved, hard paved, and then brought in for fluid removal and dismantling.
On the SPPO?
Yep. So I just, since we had that conversation now, I just figured I'd add that there is some detail to that portion of their operation in their description, in their site plan of operation application.
Yeah, I can't read it on mine, but I trust what you've read. It's fine.
Well. Is, there's no other comments. Is there a motion on the two-lot certified survey map?
I will move to approve the necessary action on the request by the applicant and owners for approval of the two-lot CSM. The property is located adjacent to County Truck Highway F, is known as LSPT 0248.983, LSPT 0248983001, and LSP 20248.976, and recommendation to the town or to the village board of the same.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brian. All right. The waivers. It's any applicable waivers, but there's really no waivers to speak of here.
Not for this request, no.
All right, just to be clear on that. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, now the other half, discussion necessary action on the request by applicant Bill Morrison for approval of an original site plan and plan of operation and any applicable waivers as necessary from the auto recycling and auto parts business on the H&H Auto property located at W233 North 5639 County Road F, LSPT 0248.983.001 in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District. Lauren?
Now that we have the background here, we can get in some of the specifics of the site plan of operation. So again, the applicant here is Bill Morrison, Morrison's Auto Inc., who is intending to purchase this business from H&H Auto Parts and Salvage LLC, and to continue to operate the automotive salvage yard for Morrison's Auto Inc. The things I wanted to point out, there are some existing businesses in existing buildings on the eastern portion of the property. There's a sign company, trucking company, and automotive repair business leasing space operating out of 3 different buildings on the east side of the property. Each of these existing businesses have their own site plan and plan of operation approvals existing. And there's no changes being proposed with those business operations as part of this request. We're just focusing on the request for the H&H Auto Parts use. According to chapter 21, junk and junk dealers, section 21.03 license of the Lisbon Municipal Code. No person shall operate a junk business without a license, therefore, and according to the village clerk, H&H Auto Parts and Salvage LLC needs to renew their auto salvage business annual license. So we have added that as a condition, which was also a condition on the previously approved certified survey map. Okay, there you go. So that's already in the works. So we can leave that in as a condition, and as soon as that license gets issued, then that condition has been addressed. Under D, outdoor storage in the report from both vehicles and large automotive parts are what's being stored. According to chapter 21, junk and junk dealers, section 21.08 junk business regulations. Sub B, enclosures of junkyards of the Lisbon Municipal Code. Every junkyard shall be enclosed by a substantial enclosure consisting of a solid fence to be approved by the building inspector of a height not less than 8 feet and maintained in a proper condition. The existing salvage yard is enclosed by an 8-foot metal fence on the north and east sides. However, there is no fence along the south and west portions of the property adjacent to Land and Stone's property. Subsequently, H&H Auto Parts had vehicles and parts encroaching on portions of Land and Stone's properties in those areas, essentially up to the berms that exist. So over their property line, but within the berms that exist. The encroachments have been remedied. The applicants have been very gracious in getting that done prior to this meeting. These portions of the property, though, are intended to be screened by a fence per the municipal code. And so we have a condition that the petitioners add a fence in those portions that ties into this. It would be condition 4 under site plan and plan of operation, page 3 of the report. The petitioner shall install an 8-foot high solid fence to match the material and color of the existing fence on site along the south and west property lines to tie into the existing fence to fully enclose the property per chapter 21, section 21.08B of the municipal code. Again, there are berms in those areas, but the code does say, and it specifically mentions an 8-foot metal or an 8-foot fence. So that's where staff's recommendation is coming from. That's the only thing I really wanted to point out. Proposed hours of operation, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pretty straightforward operating hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're limiting outdoor storage to vehicles and large automotive parts. That could be a location where we add some language regarding, instead of saying we're limiting this to outdoor storage shall be limited to vehicles and large automotive parts, we could add something to the effect of, from their plan of operation language.
Couldn't we do it under?
Vehicles that have been drained, or, had their fluids drained, or we could add another condition to that effect if it pleases the plan commission.
Could we modify L under stormwater management erosion control to read compliance with and give us the name of this organization, not just the initials, recommendations? Can we do that, Orrin?
Sure.
Because that addresses stormwater management, and to me, it's an appropriate place.
Should we be referencing that organization or the federal? Because it's a federal requirement, correct? Just in case the federal requirement, they use some different organization.
as long as somebody could cite it, I don't know it off the top of my
I
head.
have no idea. Wasn't a problem until it became a problem.
I know, it's everything in life.
And I mean, this operation is run for many, many years with
Yes,
no
I'm sure.
complaints and
Why don't we just say stormwater management and erosion control shall comply with applicable local, state and federal regulations and leave it at that. Then we don't have, when they change it in Washington 4 more times next week, we don't have to change it.
does that protect us sufficiently?
Yes.
All right, good job, Joe.
If no one else has anything else, I'll make a motion.
Any questions, Jeff?
No.
Jerry?
Nope.
Brian?
No.
Becky?
No,
It's all you, Joe.
I will make a motion. Action on the request of the applicant Bill Morrison for the approval of an original site plan and plan of operation and any applicable waivers as necessary and as stated in the staff review with the modification to item 3L. For an auto recycling and auto parts business on the H&H Auto property located at West 233 North 5639 County Road F, LSBT 0248983001 in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Jeff? All right, any final discussion? Anything else from staff? Nope. You have to come on up.
Would it be possible on the fencing on the south and the west side, if we could get a variance where that would not be needed? When we came here in 84, the town board recommended not to put a fence because of the wind. And also what we have is a 25-foot berm, both the south and the west side. And then on the other side of the berm is a 400-foot drop straight down both sides.
Are those berms on your property or on Lansing property?
I think they were on the help list.
I would think so because that's where they get the
Yeah.
material from.
The commission itself can't because it's our code. You'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals to do that.
It's not in zone.
Oh, it's not in.
Not
It
in
just can't
zoning.
happen, period then.
Well, we'd have to amend the code to grant, set forth a procedure for granting a variance, which is doable. I mean, if the village, this is a question you need to ask the village board. This is the plan commission and they're making a recommendation. Well, they're approving the site plan and plan of operation and they made a recommendation. So you'd have to contact the staff and ask to be on. The village board will be taking up your certified survey map at the next meeting, correct?
Correct.
And you could ask for an additional agenda item to see if they would amend the code to allow for a waiver procedure. We currently don't have one, right?
Yeah,
I
because
don't
back in
believe-
the
I don't
eighties,
believe
they
so.
specifically said with the wind, don't put a fence up. It's gonna be, you don't need it.
They weren't allowed to do it then
Yeah.
either.
Oh,
They just
okay.
did.
They just did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things were different in
Yeah.
84.
Yeah.
But I think everybody sees what you're referencing.
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, it makes sense. We'd have to hear from Land and Stone probably too, though, to see what, because you're technically next to their property, what their feeling is on it now. But like I said, we don't have a procedure in place at this time to even do that.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. Because back in the eighties, when Harry Halquist had it, he told us to use that property. And when Landon came in, they said the same thing, that they can't quarry it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not, the fence you can't see the fence from the north and the east.
so you've been using that property and maintaining it for over 20 years?
About 47.
The term,
40.
the term for that,
40.
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, it's been over 40 years. So we'd have to go to the,
Go to staff and.
okay, all right, thank you for your time.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, item D, discussion and necessary action on the request by applicant owners David and Nicole Berg to rezone the eastern half of the property located at North 71, West 22371, Good Hope Road, LSPT 0237.978, from County Shoreland M2 General Industrial District to County Shoreland R1 Suburban Single Family Residential District, and recommendation to the village board of the same. So we had the public hearing tonight. We received the information. Are there any other comments, not new information, but any other comments on this from staff? Any,
No additional comments, just that I have the property up now on the screen. If you wanted to see what the current split zone looks like between the Village R1 and the County Shoreland M2. Sorry, I should use the microphone. I have this up on the screen now. If you want to see what the split zoning looks like between the Village R1 and the County Shoreland M2, which would be the portion that they're proposing to rezone. There was also a rezoning exhibit provided in the packet that details the area proposed to be rezoned.
comments from the commission? Jeff, anything?
No.
Sherry?
Nope.
Brian? No. Joe? No. Becky?
No.
All right, I think this makes 100% perfect sense.
Mhm.
I mean, this is, there isn't a lot that makes more sense than what we're doing on this one, in my opinion. So, all right. With no other comments, is there a motion on this item?
So move.
To rezone?
Yes.
Moved by Joe to rezone, as stated. Is there a second?
Second,
Second, Sherry?
yes.
Second by Sherry. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Item E, discussion necessary action on the request by Stephen and Kate Garman for the after the fact major grading conditional use permit in the R1 Suburban Single Family Residential Zoning District for the property located at North 61 West 26124 Brackland Drive, LSPT 0257.059, related to the installation of a swimming pool. We have the applicant here. We had a public hearing tonight. There were no comments at the public hearing. Any comments from staff on this? Any more? Just that I have the property up here on. I have the property up on the screen now. So you can see the area where the proposed pool is being located was included in the plans submitted by the petitioner. It would be in his rear yard, kind of north of where the subdivision's stormwater pond is on his property. All right. Questions? Anything for you, Jeff? No. Sherry? Brian? Joe? No. Becky?
No.
I think one quick comment, right? In the staff review, I just noticed the construction, it indicates a 20 by 40 foot pool. It is a 20 by 45 foot pool, which has been included in the building permit that was approved. I just want to make sure if there's a technicality that's updated. If there's a question in the inspection later, just to clarify.
Okay. Does that change anything from any perspective? No, not a substantial difference, more. Nope. All right. No other questions? Apologies for there. Is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve the major grading permit in conjunction with the construction of a 25-foot by 45-foot in-ground swimming pool at North 61 West 26124 Brackland Drive.
All right, moved by Becky. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brian. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. You're no longer after the fact. All right, thank you. Item F, discussion necessary action, the request by Caitlin LaJoy, Brian Building Corp. On behalf of owner John Willinger, EV Wisconsin LLC for the Vermeer development on the property located at North 62 West 22356 Richard Road, LSBT 0241.999.012 for the following. We have an original site plan and plan of operation for an industrial equipment sales service and repair facility and any applicable waivers as necessary. And we also have the major grading conditional use permit related to construction of the same. All right. Everything is here, so we'll start off with you, Warren, on the site plan of operation.
Again, the petitioner is requesting approval of a site plan of operation for an approximately 46,605 square foot new building for an industrial equipment sales and service business use, which is Vermeer. The site is lot 2 of CSM 12326, is approximately 11.746 acre property. The few things I wanted to point out, there are some waivers being requested to the design guidelines by the petitioner. Overall, the proposed landscaping is short, 4 shade trees, 21 evergreens, and 112 shrubs. Staff is recommending a final landscape plan be submitted depicting the appropriate screening on all sides of the building per section 2, table 3 of the design standards. And that be prepared and submitted to the village planner prior to issuance of a building permit. At the end of the report, I've outlined the different waivers that are being requested. So there is a waiver being requested to section 2.1, table 3 of the design standards to allow fewer plantings in the land use buffers than prescribed. Staff's recommending denial of that requested waiver. There is a waiver being requested to section 2 of the design standards to allow fewer landscape plantings per lineal 100 feet of buffer to this is to accommodate snow removal and appropriate spacing. So the plan commission should determine whether or not to allow that waiver. There's also a waiver requested to have a slightly narrower buffer yard. The prescription from the design standards would be 20 feet for all of the different land use buffer yards around the property. Along the north lot line, the petitioner is requesting a 15-foot in lieu of 20. That portion of the development would abut the Pepsi project to the north, specifically their loading docks and semi-truck parking area. So the plan commission should determine whether to grant that requested waiver to allow a 15-foot land use buffer width along the north property line. Staff doesn't have any objections to that requested waiver. I wanted to talk about the parking a little bit. There is a proposal for 79 off-street parking stalls, which includes 4 ADA accessible stalls. The code would require 99 total off-street parking spaces. The applicant has demonstrated that they can meet the code requirement. So what they're proposing is to have a parking bank essentially where they've demonstrated that they could meet the size requirement and install the additional spaces if needed. Our recent amendment to the zoning ordinance parking section does allow the plan commission to waive certain minimum parking requirements subject to consideration of certain factors which are listed in the report. So the plan commission should determine whether to grant the requested waiver for the proposed off-street parking to allow the 79 versus 99 with the demonstrated parking bank. And the final waiver request is to allow parking within the street yard towards Richard Road. So the design standards state that commercial parking lots should not be located in the street yard, but that the plan commission or village board as applicable. So in this case, for a site plan of operation, it would be the plan commission can grant a waiver to that. If the public good would not be served by having only side or rear yard parking. The applicant has added sufficient landscaping to screen the proposed parking. So the plan commission should determine whether to grant the requested waiver to allow the proposed parking in the street yard. Otherwise, the rest of the aspects of the project are meeting the design guidelines and the zoning code requirements. Again, a representative from Bryan Building is here. If there's any questions from the plan commission for them.
So I guess first thing is with the design standards is even if we say we're okay with it, it still has to go to the village of Sussex, correct?
Correct.
Did they put any input in what's been requested as of yet or no?
I've sent the links to Jeremy. I have not heard back.
I guess I would want to know ahead of time whether or not he's gonna, Jeremy has the pulse of his board. He would know whether they're gonna be okay with something or not okay with it. I don't really feel comfortable even recommending changes without knowing where they're gonna be. But where's the plan commission? Jeff?
Yeah, I am rather hesitant to do that. I mean, that was, we always made a point of saying that's the gateway to their village. And they would like things heavily screened and have it looking, really first class. And you have no idea, or they haven't responded to us. When did that request go in? Do you recall? To them?
Just wait till the next meeting, to hear back from them. So we don't have to undo to do it.
You can come on up if you want.
Hi, Caitlin LaJoy, 3885 North Brookfield Road. I guess from the applicant side, we would recommend approving with conditions that you hear back from Sussex, if that's possible. I think project-wise, our schedule is pretty tight, and I understand there's a process for everything, but from our end, it would be advantageous for the project to receive feedback from this commission tonight and then continue that process with Sussex.
Feedback is approval, not just feedback.
Sure.
It's actual approval.
Correct.
And we are required to follow a plan with the village. I guess I feel kind of,
Are we able to approve with that condition that signed off by the village of Sussex?
I don't know, can we?
Yeah. I don't know of any reason. That's a reasonable condition.
Yeah.
You can put reasonable conditions on a site plan of operation approval.
I'd really like to get these before we have these meetings though, because we've garnered really goodwill, I think, with our neighbor, and I don't want anything to make it look like we're trying to circumvent them in any way, shape or form. This is one of our only border properties that's still being developed
Sure.
at this time, and we went through a couple of years of, we worked a lot of things out.
Sure,
We
and
don't
we
wanna-
definitely don't want to damage that relationship by any
Alright.
means. I think what we're proposing is still going to be kind of like that beautiful gateway to their village as well.
Mr. Chairman. I have a thought occasionally. Since what you're going to build out there is not going to be impacted on day one by, I think we're only talking about landscaping, correct?
Street parking,
But I mean, the same amount of pavement's the site plan's gonna be the same, whether you stripe it for 99 or 49, it doesn't make any difference. It's not gonna hold up, I would believe, your construction. The same with the landscaping. If we wanna have, if it's decided to have more trees there, it's planting more trees. It's not gonna change anything. So what I'm getting at, can we approve this? Would it make sense to approve this with the exception of the parking number, quantity, and the landscaping plan? And that would give them approval for everything else but those two things.
The setback is the one thing we have to look at, 215 to
Mhm.
20 to 15.
20 to 15.
Oh, yeah.
What's the reason for that?
I believe it's just the site, the way the site plan laid out.
You couldn't lay it out without that?
It'd be 5 more feet.
I would have to check with our civil. I don't have that answer
It's
offhand.
their job to meet our code, not our job to meet their requirements. I mean, if there's a reason, it's one thing, but if it's just, well, this is the way the computer laid it out, that's a little different. What's the reason for it's on-street parking? I'm correct in saying that, right?
Don Ferrante, same address as Caitlin. The reason for it is there's a small retail component. He wants to have that more for the customer parking. It's
The
supposed to be
on-street
on site.
parking?
What's that?
Which portion are you talking?
The parking on the front, the request for the parking on the
It's
front.
not on
It's
street.
not on street, it's just front parking.
Front of
Yeah,
the
it's not on,
building.
it's on, in front of the building, on the property. It's just in the front and the parking's not supposed to be on the front, but we have a small portion of parking in the front. And it's more for making it convenient for his customers.
Okay. What about the setback? You have anything on that or no?
The setback, that is, this particular site has has basically 3 sides that's taken up by the drainage easement, which is a significant amount of land. And he has specific, items that he needs that land for, and the 5 feet would help, make their operation function better in terms of the equipment coming in and out of the repair base.
And that's heavily landscaped on the
Correct.
West side, right?
Yes. And the south. And the east as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all I can think of to move this thing along is to just accept those, the parking, the setback and the landscaping plans for future review and approval at the next meeting is, I mean, now at least get you going.
And we're willing to work with the plan commission
Yeah.
to get that landscape closer to what you are asking for.
I mean, I can understand if you don't want to put landscaping in front of those parking places because that's where the snow is gonna go. But if you gave me the same amount of trees someplace else in there, to me, it's the same darn thing. Because as Orwin points out, your view to the north are loading docks. So,
We did both the building to the north as well.
Yeah, I
And
know.
we worked out with both that landlord. He's okay with our approach here. And we can get that right if needed.
that's what my recommendation would be, just exempt those 3 things for right now.
I would just add that the parking is actually under the purview of the plan commission. It doesn't come from the design guidelines, it just comes from the zoning. The request for the waiver to develop the parking.
I'm more concerned about Sussex.
That's what I'm saying. It comes from your zoning language. It doesn't come from Sussex. It's not.
The design standards.
It's not something that comes from.
Oh,
not covered.
okay, I understand. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Well, that takes care of parking. If we want to approve the parking. Wait,
So let's talk about the parking a little bit. I've never heard of a parking bank. I'm a little concerned about what that might start in the future.
Can I respond to that? It's basically 20 spots. It's actually shown on the site plan that can be striped. And if there's a preference to have all 20 now, even though it's not needed, we
it's
can
already
stripe those
paved.
in. It's already going to be paved.
Okay,
It's
so now
just-
we're not talking about grass or anything that's
No.
gonna be.
It's paved area that he could use for construction related equipment that they sell and repair. Now would be occupied by 20 cars. That's not really needed, but they have the space for it. We can do it though, if that's the desire of the plan commission.
What will it be used for, if anything? If not parking?
They sell new equipment, they lease equipment, construction equipment. A lot of what they sell is boring type equipment for doing road construction infrastructure work. So it'd be a combination of probably equipment that's being repaired, waiting for the customer to pick it up. Or new equipment or used equipment that's going to be sold.
Equipment storage,
Then it's technically a waiver of the number of parking.
right?
I mean, you have no, is there any reason you need 99 parking stalls for this operation?
No, they have
38.
38 employees, thank you, and they might have 10 customers at the most. And even if they had another 10, they still have enough parking.
That's more what I'm looking at is,
Right.
is that, and
And I was hoping that the plan of operation would illustrate that is that the really the need of 79 is more than what they need. The 99 would cover them 10 years from now, maybe if they hire another 30 or 40 people, which
I was just more concerned.
at that
we
point, they're
were-
probably building a new facility.
I hope they do.
I didn't want to identify a piece of grass somewhere as a potential
No.
parking bank, because that's going to open up a can of worms for us in the future. and other
It's
things.
currently paid area.
And that's why it's shown on.
Jeff,
I think those ideas to, pass a contingent or saying that we will consider these in the future makes some sense because it allows them to move forward.
Sherry?
Could I ask a question? Is it just the
Give me-
landscape that would require Sussex approval? Everything else is within the
No.
purview of
Street side parking, I believe, isn't that
And
part of the
septic.
design?
Yeah, it'd be 3 of the 4 requested waivers would require Sussex's way.
Right.
Just the off-street parking one that is just under the purview.
Sherry?
I agree with approving it with holding out the 3 items that Sussex has to review as well as part of the design standards. I agree the parking spot 99 seems overkill for a size that's only got 38 employees, but I would like to see the landscaping brought up to meet the state, meet the code. And the setback, I guess they would have to, if Sussex has an issue with that, they probably need more information as to the need for it.
We asked our landscape designer today to provide that plan, so we should have that in a couple of days. And we'll submit it to the city.
Brian?
I agree with I agree with, approving what we can. Contingent. I agree with you too.
Becky?
I also agree.
All right.
I can't find my emails. That's a journey.
Is everybody, as far as the buffer goes? What's the feeling on that 5-foot buffer? Does anybody care?
No,
No,
I don't.
No, Cherry? Yes. Okay. Property line, 99. Parking stalls going from 99 to 79.
No
no
problem.
problem.
I'm fine with that.
I agree. I think that makes sense. All right, and then, so then we'd be looking for the landscaping plan, the parking stalls up front. What was the other one? Well, they have,
That's it.
and then the first from Sussex on those. Okay, but in general,
And that's really only if you want to approve the request for the waiver to the amount of landscape.
mhm.
Way that we have the proposed motion laid out, we have a motion for each of the requested waivers and then one for the site plan of operation. So we're asking that you take action on each of the waiver requests immediately. And then the site plan of operation as a separate motion.
Well, I guess so what I'm hearing from the plan commission is we want them to meet the landscaping
Landscaping.
that's stated, so.
I would make a motion to deny the waiver for a request to amend the landscaping requirement
The number of
with the number of plantings.
query about that. Does that then require on that one, side that it be 20 feet in width to meet that landscape plan?
That's a
It's not-
separate request. That one that we just addressed was just the number of plants.
Okay,
And the design guidelines allow the site to be looked at as a whole. Even though there's a requirement for a number of plantings for each landscape buffer yard, those can be distributed throughout the site. Which the plan commission has said they'd be amenable to moving plantings around. They just want to see the code required number of plantings on the site.
thank you.
Is that correct?
So Sherry would like. So we just have to identify each one, I think, we have to make a separate motion on each one, correct? We just have to identify, each. So Sherry would like to uphold the landscaping, correct, Sherry?
Just the land, yes, to deny the request for a waiver for the landscaping number of plantings.
Jeff, were you on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Brian? Joe?
Yes,
Becky?
Yes.
I am in the same, so. Okay. You wanna, I can't find it on my sheet. You wanna read the next one, Ryan?
On page 4.
Yeah, this would be page 4.
Yeah. Joe, do we need a second for her motion? If we
Well,
do-
it's not a motion, it's just we're gonna identify each waiver.
Oh, okay.
Do it all in
I thought
one
we had to
motion.
make separate motions. I apologize.
Yeah, we're actually requesting a motion.
Do you want a motion on each one? Oh, okay, well, Sherry made a motion,
I'll second it.
Becky seconded, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes 6-0.
Did you find it, Joe?
No, Becky just gave me hers. I don't have that in my packet.
It's on the back page. Oh, you don't have a
This one,
staff
so I
report?
just gotta catch up on where it is in the packet. I've been,
It's on page
I got it
4.
from Becky here. I just gotta get. Sure, I've been following along with it here, but I'm looking at my paperwork, I'm like, I don't have that page here. I was gonna pull it up on my computer, but I've been engaged in too much discussion as we've been going here. All right,
I will make a motion to approve the requested waiver. Section 2-1, table 3 of design to allow a 15-foot land use buffer width along the north property line.
moved by Joe to approve. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Brian. Any
Comment.
discussion?
You want to make that subject to approval by the Village of Sussex?
That's okay with the motion in the second?
That's fine.
Yes.
All right, so be contingent upon approval from the Village of Sussex on their review. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, then the off-street parking spaces.
Motion to approve the requested waiver, section 3J12 Lisbon zoning ordinance. That's entirely ours. So allow the proposed number of off-street parking spaces, having considered the factors in section 3J12 AE of the Lisbon zoning ordinance.
Moved by Joe, is there a second?
Second,
Second by Sherry. All right, any other discussion?
And you were reducing it from 99 to 79?
Yes,
Is that, okay, just wanted that
Second
clarification.
understands that?
yes.
Sherry, you're good with that?
yes.
Sorry, sure.
Any final discussion? Any more? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, and then we have the commercial parking in the street yard. Anyone wish to make a motion on that one?
And I'm just trying to. That one is one that Sussex has input into, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, veto authority.
Well, we can just roll the dice and say that we approve the commercial parking lot in the street yard, subject to the approval of the Village of Sussex, and if they say no, then it's gotta come back, that one line, that one item. That gives you a 50-50 chance.
Or in, what's the number of lots parking spots that they propose for the front of the building. The street side.
Good question. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think. I can't. I need to make.
Well, the way the standard is written, you can actually have, I believe, 10% in the street yard. So they're requesting more than 10%. So and that 10% would be based on the requirement of 99 spaces.
So we'd be, so if we agreed to 79 spaces, then their 10% would be even smaller.
No, it's based on the 99.
Okay.
It would be based on the code requirement.
So they could have 10 and they're looking for 16 or 17.
Correct. But
And we could approve it.
It's just the one row and those additional beyond.
I'd say we approve what they propose, subject to the approval of the Village of Sussex.
Put that in a motion.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. She's got seniority, Brian.
She's a heck of a lot better looking.
She's closer to me. She can swing.
And she's left-handed. That hits me.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
So now we need a,
Now the site plan. Any questions on the site plan?
I just have a question. I notice on the site plan that you have a large area of unpaved area. It's going to be, what's going to be out there? Just more parking of equipment? I know the type of equipment
Yeah,
there.
they have several pieces that are very large and heavy. And having that type of a surface is gonna be more forgiving, especially if it's sitting there for a little bit of a time.
I was looking on the plans for a section of what that was going to be, whether it was gonna be 2 inches of millings or 2 feet of or something like that. My only concern is I know the size of some of the equipment that they've got, and it is very large and very heavy. About something going out there and just doing this, and all of a sudden we've got a mud hole out there. That's the only concern I have, because in order to put an adequate amount of asphalt out there, you'd have to have 4 to 6 inches of asphalt. And I understand if I'm just curious how much tailing or millings is gonna be out there. That's what I'm concerned about, just stuff sinking, all of a sudden we got rutted area. I mean, is there anything on these plans? I don't see a.
Sir, if you wouldn't mind, come up to the mic. We're on Zoom, so.
We have all the sections for the hard pavement shown.
Yeah,
I
know
don't think
that.
we have that particular portion shown.
No.
We,
couldn't find it.
it's recycled asphalt basically, and right, if they have, we did the Madison facility for them and we did Grand Chute recently. And they have a similar area in those parking lots. And I know that we provided some photos of that in the packet. The owner, John, is very conscious about his property looking as immaculate as it could look. So if there's any issue like that, he would attend to it and take care of it.
You addressed my concern. Thank you, sir. And this is a somewhat realistic color of what the building's gonna look like.
Look at the packet, the transmission packet, there's some photos. The Grand Chute facility, we're gonna be basically replicating the colors of the Grand Chute facility.
Okay.
And it's fairly close.
Okay. I don't pick out colors. I'm an engineer. I'm sorry, my wife doesn't allow me to do that, so I'm not picking on your colors. I just wanted to verify.
We established in Madison and now the Grand Chute and the
Okay.
facility a standard color.
Okay, I understand. It's like a McDonald's. Okay, that's all I have. Sir.
I've got those pictures up on the screen that you're referring to now.
There, that's basically the what? Sorry.
You see me looking.
This is the Grand Chute facility and that color representation. Obviously, the design is a little different, but that's the color palette. They will have wall signs that we kind of represented, but and that'll come, the sign person will come back for those official approvals later.
Thank you.
No problem.
Pretty good looking.
Good.
Sherry, anything in the site plan of operation?
No questions?
One from Brian, anything else for you, Joe?
No.
Becky, anything for you?
No,
All right. We'll then be looking for a motion on the site plan of operation.
I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan and plan of operation for Caitlin LaJolie, Bryan Building Corporation on behalf of EV Wisconsin LLC.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any final discussion? Anything else from staff? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That is it on there. So then we have the major grading permits. Any questions or comments on the major grading permit? Anything else from staff on that? In a public hearing, everything was fine on that. Is there a motion on the major grading permit? I'll move to approve the major grading conditional use permit.
I'll second it.
Becky? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, so got some approvals coming from Sussex.
Good luck. Thanks for bringing them to us.
So we have item G, discussion and necessary action on the request by Caitlin LaJoie, Bryan Building Corp. On behalf of owner Larry Kelly, Attitude Holdings LLC for the property located at North 62 West 22113 Leeds Lane, LSBT 0214.999.006 for the following. Original site plan of operation for dance studio and 8 applicable waivers is necessary, and another major grading conditional use permit related to the construction of the same.
This project is just on the other side of the pond, that is stormwater pond. This business park east development. Again, this is on Leeds, Leeds Lane. You will know it shortly. Petitioner is requesting approval of site plan of operation for approximately 10,535 square foot dance studio building for Attitude Dance Company. Proposal shows possible future buildings that are not part of this, or would be future phases. But we're showing that the site could accommodate those. Business successful in the future. 50 off-street parking stalls are being proposed, 3 ADA accessible stalls, 4 bike parking spaces, and we sanitary sewer and the water. For this project, there is one waiver request to allow parking within the street yard. The way that the proposed development is laid out, there would be a proposed pond in the street yard area of the development. And then there would be landscape buffering and then the parking. Quite a bit of distance between the street and the proposed parking. Also creating, the plan commission to determine whether to grant the request waiver to allow parking.
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was me.
Otherwise, the proposed project meets all of the design standard requirements and zoning ordinance requirements. The representatives, Brian, are still here and available for questions.
All right, questions from the commission? Jeff,
No.
Jerry,
No.
Brian,
No.
Joe? No. Becky?
No,
I don't have any either. All right, well, so we're gonna want separate motions on these again?
Correct.
So we're looking for a motion on the commercial parking in the street yard. Would somebody, anybody?
It'll be the same motion as the last one, the approval of site plan of operation request for new dance studio. Lot 2 is certified survey map 12285. Subject to the approval of the village of Sussex with the
Street yard.
waiver to allow the proposed parking in the street.
So we're taking them both together?
Well, I think the language we were looking for was, we would like them separate,
Okay,
and,
But you would-
the Lisbon Plan Commission approves the requested waiver to section 3G of the design standards to allow commercial parking lot in the street yard, finding those spaces are adequately blocked from the street view by the proposed landscaping, subject to approval by the village of Sussex.
that was my motion.
I'll second.
That's what I heard. Second by Sherry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, now we have the site plan and plan of operation. We're looking for a motion on that.
Make a motion for the site plan and plan of operation. Request by Caitlin LaJoy and Brian Building Corporation on behalf of owner Larry Kelly, Attitude Holdings LLC. Property located in 62 West 22113 Leeds Lane, LSBC 0241999006.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And we have the major grading conditional use permit. I move to approve the major grading conditional use permit. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item H, discussion necessary action to assign annual quarry inspections.
We have put together a procedures for quarry, knowing that we had new people on the board, on the commission. To give you an example of what things should be looked at when you do a review of the quarry. And then Elisa is going to talk about the assigning annual quarry inspections.
I believe that the newest member of the plan commission does all the inspections their first year, isn't that correct?
Sherry, are you volunteering to take Hellquist this year? Well. So I think we only have one plan commission member that has never done a quarry inspection. Jeff, have you done them before?
Yes. last year.
Okay, so Sean is not present tonight, so everyone else here has done them previously. It's my understanding that Commissioner Eberly coordinated with Administrator Nicholas to come up with the inspection guidelines. So whichever quarry is chosen by whichever plan commissioner, I will email you everything that we've got. If you would prefer paper copies, let me know and I will be happy to print those off for you. some of them, we have very old, site plan of operations. Some of them, we have conditional use discussions, but no actual conditional use permits. Some of them, we have everything for. So based on whichever quarry you pick will depend on what we have for you at Village Hall. Get in touch with me sometime within the next week or so, and whenever is easiest for you. And I will have all those documents ready for you.
We have how many?
5 quarries. So we've got Land and Stone that has a number of properties and locations. We've got Lafarge. We have Payne and Dolan, Genesee Aggregate, and Hellquist. Stark is within Land and Stone. So we would request that whoever picks Land and Stone also does Stark.
So if you're taking Land and Stone, you're taking all 3 of the,
Yep,
which is under 1 CU now.
yep.
What's the big one? I think Sean volunteered. And you taking Joe?
Doesn't matter.
Did you just say you take it, Joe?
I'll take Genesee.
Genesee Aggregate?
Okay. All right. Brian, are you offering to do all the Land and Stone ones?
Pretty sure.
Okay, so we need someone for Land and Stone, so who's gonna do it?
That one's next to my house, so I'm not doing that one.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Jeff.
So that would be Land and Stone and Stark.
Yeah, because last
And
year
then
I
you won't
did
have to do it
start
next
by
year.
themselves. That's why I mentioned
What?
it. I did start by themselves. I did not.
Yeah, I
do-
thought you split that with somebody. I don't remember who had the rest of Land and
Could be.
Stone last year.
Was the first year we have the whole thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Ed did the rest of Land and stuff.
Yep, that's what it was.
Take Lafarge?
Yep.
Who wants to take Lafarge?
I can take Lafarge.
Okay, then.
That was a good one last year.
I haven't been there for
a while.
And then Payne and Dolan, is that the one, Hillside? Payne and Dolan?
Payne and Dolan?
Yeah, it's Plainview and Hillside,
164.
164. Okay, I was thinking farther.
In Hillside, it's Payne and Dolan.
Is that you, Sherry? I can take Payne and Dolan. All right, very good. All right, thank you, everyone.
That's
Hellquist.
Of course, we have Miami and Ideal.
It's Land and Stone now, isn't it?
No, there's still on town line, there's still a,
Oh,
there's two quarries over there that are Hellquist. Still, there's a stone cutting operation and a.
Becky, are you doing one or?
I don't do.
Joe is doing inspection? Or should we give this to Sean? Explain it to him.
I can do it. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to do it, depending on my work situation.
We can
No,
work with
I can
Sean
do
then.
it
You can do it?
because I'm just doing Genesee Aggregate, which is,
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, if Sean were to do it, we would need somebody to go with him just to.
you give me the file on those two and Genesee Aggregate.
Do you want to work with Sean on Hillquist?
Yeah, I can do that.
We'll assign it to you and then Sean can ride along.
And Lafarge isn't Lafarge anymore, is it? On Hillside?
Right along.
Yeah. So,
It's, but we know which one we're talking. You have
yeah,
to
so,
go to-
Perfect. Thank you all.
so they're gonna have to. come
And
in.
then get in touch with me and I'll get you all the paperwork.
Won't they have to come in? Because they
Item
changed
I
it.
is discussion only regarding proposed draft ordinances and timeline for creation of village shoreline, floodline, and wetland zoning.
So at the February 13th meeting, the village board approved the contract for both to prepare village zoning ordinances for floodplain. Oh, it's available. So at the February 13th meeting of the village board, a contract for both was approved to prepare village zoning ordinances for floodplain, a shoreline overlay district, and shoreline wetlands. The town of Lisbon was under the jurisdiction of Waukesha County for shoreline and floodplain zoning regulations. And since incorporating, the village has 6 months per state statute in which to adopt its own floodplain and shoreline zoning ordinances. Waukesha County floodplain and shoreline zoning regulations remain in effect until the village adopts its own ordinances. So the village is currently administrating those existing regulations. That's why when we had our rezoning earlier for the Berg property as an example, we said that it was going from county shoreline to county shoreline because we haven't adopted a village shoreline zoning ordinance yet. That's coming. So FOTH is using Wisconsin DNR model ordinances based on NR 116, Wisconsin Act 80, and NR 117 to develop floodplain shoreline overlay and shoreline wetland ordinances for the village respectively. We've been working with Waukesha County to compile a list of properties where there is differing zoning between the village and county shoreline on the same property. Also properties located entirely within county shoreline, which there were a few of, and properties where there is no village zoning district that corresponds with the existing county shoreline district. So these conflicts need to be addressed before adopting updates to the village zoning map, which will include shoreline zoning on it. So currently, when you look at the zoning map, you see all these holes, which are where there is county shoreline zoning. Those will get filled in. And what we're looking to do is provide some consistency so that there aren't properties that have differing zoning in the shoreline area versus the rest of the property. Some of them, it may make sense to still have portions of them have split zoning, but in most cases, it can be cleaned up and be a lot simpler and easier to administer and for the public to digest and understand, which is really what we're looking for. So part of what we want to do is just go through a few of these properties where we wanted some input from the Plan Commission. And because I know not all of you can see the screen, that's why I passed out some copies. So there were 222 properties in a table, an Excel table that we received from the county that we needed to look at, where there was one of those three, issues that I rattled off. Either there was conflicting zoning between the town and the county, it was all within county, or there is no corresponding town now village district to correspond to what the county had. So we basically went through, my colleague Sean Malarkey at FOTH and I, with the county and with some input from the village administrator on a few of these, and we ironed out most of them using a methodology of erring on the side of if there was, if the bulk of the property had a certain zoning, we would stick with that for the shoreline area. In some cases, there were some judgment calls to be made. So a couple of things I want to point out here. The county zoning, there's an A1 district that does not exist within the village. There's an HG high groundwater district that doesn't exist in the village. Again, this is only in, the HG is only in shoreland areas. There's an AT agricultural transition. I'm not even sure that there is any of that within Lisbon. RRD5, which actually does correspond to the village's RD5. The county has a C1 overlay, whereas the village just has a C1 district. And then the county actually had zoning in the right of way. And the village will not. We will not be having the zoning carry across the property line up to the midpoint of the right of way. So where it made sense, where there was a corresponding district in the village, we went ahead and made that call. Those are pretty straightforward. After going through, the 222 of these properties that exist, there's 4 that we wanted to run by you for input, which are in the packet of materials that I handed out. So I'll bring them up on the screen here just so anybody watching at home can follow along. So the first is actually owned by the Lafarge Quarry. It is a split zoned lot. A10, Q1, and C1 village zoning. County had Q1, and the proposed would be Q1, A10, upland corridor, and C1. If we kept all of the existing zoning, and you can see that there's a portion of, so the purple boundary on your map that you have in front of you is the boundary of the shoreland area. The purple line with the dots. So there's part of the property that's outside of the shoreland area, and then there's the part of the property that's in the shoreland area. Because this involves a quarry, we wanted to bring it to you rather than just simply make a call on this one.
Is the property line that's outlined in yellow, is that the Barker River? The north property, the north yellow line, I assume that's the Barker River.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, that's what. would
Yep.
make sense.
Yep. And this is just one of the parcels that make up the quarry's property. They have other holdings to the south, which we'll get to next, and further west, where there's actually active quarrying going on. That's further south and west from what you're looking at here. And I can kind of zoom out, and you can get a better perspective of where this is in relation to the existing quarrying operation. So it's northeast of their existing quarrying operations.
So do I understand correctly, you're looking for the area outlined in yellow to be one zoning?
The question is, are we comfortable with the split zoning that exists today? Do we want to keep that status quo moving forward? Do we want there to be just one? So the recommendation would be to keep the upland corridor and C1 where those exist regardless. So really what we're talking about is, do we want the entire property to be Q1 outside of those C1 and upland corridor areas? Or do we want it all to be A10? Or are we okay with the existing split zoning that exists today?
And this was one, when we looked at it, I wasn't comfortable taking away Q1 and making it all A10, because I don't know if the quarry is planning on actually quarrying there. At the same time, I wouldn't want to make everything Q1 that isn't currently Q1, because it could be they never are planning on quarrying, and they would want to sell the portion to be built on North Road. Yeah,
It is a bit of an island as it
Right.
exists.
I agree. But I didn't want to make the decision to take it away from the property owners because they are a quarry. And we are having meetings with the property owners if there's zoning changes at all. We are sending letters, and we are having 2 public meetings to allow them to come in and discuss it with us. And so I would think Lafarge will come in and talk to us about their parcels. This might be one that they could help us, guide us on what their future plans are.
Who are they? You're not Lafarge.
No, yeah, it's Wholesome, Lafarge Wholesome
Oh, it is
is the
still,
parent company.
still.
So yeah,
I've got the same concern as Susan does. I mean, you're not gonna quarry up to the bank of the Park River, because the Park River will go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Looks like right up. Right up against the river on both sides. Yeah, that's right. Look at that big sluice. That's this one.
So we just wanted some feedback from you to see if you were interested in making it one, keeping it the same, seeing what the property owner was planning on doing with this, and then bringing it back. This you are gonna have, two more meetings on this, because it will bring back after the public meeting, what our findings were, and then we will open it for a public hearing. So you're gonna see this a couple times in a full, all of the properties, the whole map. But, that is a possibility if you have a desire to go one way or another, or keep it the same. And let us talk to the property owner, we can do that as well.
Are only page 1 and page 2 of the handout the hard?
Correct.
I'd rather wait to get their input as far as what is feasible
Sure.
from a pouring standpoint, as opposed to just arbitrarily. I mean, maybe they're gonna want a heck of a lot less of that area to be pouring. I don't know.
Even on the second page, the coring areas are so tiny, so isolated and small, I
Can't
Yeah,
I
imagine.
wouldn't think it would be beneficial for them to even attempt to quarry that area.
Right, exactly, that's what point is.
I would just interject that we have had a previous planner appointment with Lafarge, and they do have long-term plans. I don't know when they want to do this specifically to quarry the second parcel that's in the packet to some extent.
That would make sense.
They did not mention the northern parcel, but again, the idea is we would get some feedback from you tonight. We will be sending a mailing notice to all of the property owners affected by this so that they can come in for an informational meeting and speak one-on-one with staff about this, shoreline zoning project and what the changes, could mean for them and their respective property. And then we would come back to the plan commission with that input and with a proposed, zoning map for you to look at. And we would, our goal is to have these meetings on April 11th and 13th at Village Hall. And then after obtaining the, input from property owners, we would return to the plan commission for a follow-up presentation on April 26th. And that's where we would have at that point, a draft of that zoning map for you to look at,
Who's got the final authority for zoning,
the board,
the town board? I mean,
village board.
Another quarter.
I know. I got a whole lot.
I mean, first and foremost, don't we want to check with the landowner to see what their intentions
Yeah.
are? Because we could sit here debating things that they don't even consider.
That's,
So wouldn't we want to
Right.
check with the property owner,
could
see
do
what
that.
they want, and then bring it back here and see if we agree? And
We can do that. We just wanted to get some feedback, so we knew if you had any leanings one way or another. And then, so when we're talking to the property owner, so.
I guess
the
from my end, I'd
two
like to
quarry-
just see what their intentions are, just to,
All right,
that
so,
might change.
so the two quarry ones, we'll talk to the quarry, the third parcels.
Yep, let me bring it up here on my screen. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third one is off of 164. It's a property that is separated by a driveway for the adjacent property. There's obviously currently split zoning. The property to the north wouldn't meet the A5 by itself. So there's
So we have to change.
A5 now, there's R2 in the county. So we're looking at A3 to the north, A5 to the south, and then keeping the C1 portions is the idea. If the plan commission is amenable to that.
and what would happen to the AD10?
That is on the driveway portion for the larger property to the east. So that's actually part of the property to the east.
So you couldn't, what I was getting at was trying to connect the two A5, but you can't do that.
No,
Different property, yeah.
they could split them though. And have two separate parcels. If we change it to A3, they actually would be in compliance on that upper parcel.
Yeah, that would make, yeah. With this one.
The other option would be to just keep it all A5. Um, This was one where we didn't think the county A2 made, or the county R2 rather made sense.
I'd leave it at A5 and let them decide in the future, or somebody, whether they want to split that and rezone it into two parcels.
Which is what they would have to do at that time. Yeah, right.
I've got a question with the southern part of that, the southern lot, A5, part of that, about half that lot's currently county's HG, high groundwater.
Yep.
Lisbon doesn't have a corresponding, would that portion be C1
C1?
then?
The C1 would be the portion that is wetland, not necessarily high groundwater. So the wetland portion, which is also about half of the property to, the piece to the south, would be C1. But the high groundwater areas would just have whatever the base zoning that we're recommending would be.
I'll leave the north to A5 and
Leave them both A5?
yeah. Let them, in the future, if they decide they want to do something with it, they can do it at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, that, to me, gives them the biggest amount of latitude.
Okay.
That's what, I mean, I don't know what other people.
Anybody else? Just keep it A5? Anything else? All right. All right, then the fourth one. This is the one right in front of the mobile home park.
Yeah, this one's interesting. This is along town line adjacent to the mobile home park. There's multiple zonings. We have had a planner appointment regarding possible future development. So what you have is there's the portion on the north end, which currently has R2 and RM multifamily. There's 3 units on that corner of the private road and town line. And then there's the south of the road, the private road, there's and it's McLaughlin Road, is that correct?
Yeah.
South of that is a chunk that's B2 currently. And then there's another chunk down towards the entrance to the mobile home park that's A1. And again, there is no corresponding A1 in the village's zoning. So the consideration to be made is, again, do we keep the status quo? I think in this instance, with this property, it does make sense to have split zoning. And hopefully a future development would clean up, and create lots that made sense. So you'd have a lot to the north and then another lot or 2 possibly to the south for future development. So for the northern portion, I think it would make sense to keep RM for the part that has the 3 homes and their shared septic area. So that would go towards the tree line up there essentially, and then leave the rest as R2. Or A5 would be another option for that northern part. And then for the southern portion, B2, convert the A1 to B2 to have more opportunity for commercial development there along town line. And then also keep the upland corridor as upland corridor.
How many different, I'm not looking at counties. Ask from that, but how many parcels are involved in this yellow outline here?
It's one parcel.
It's currently one parcel. Which is,
Really?
yeah, so if there's a future development proposal, we would want to separate things out a little bit.
Yeah,
Right. We've
I
talked,
hate to use the term. This would be a prime place to do a master plan for an area and sort this mess out.
I've had, discussions with, two possible, purchasers of the land. Right now, the land is for sale. They've talked about making the, northern part residential. Their, residential multifamily, or just, breaking that portion up into two, making a piece, multifamily, and then allowing for one more home in the, what right now is R2. Then below that, making that all business. So, that's kind of, and then the road would be a public road between them. So, well, right now there's three houses on that little lot, right where the multifamily is.
But is it single houses or are they just,
Yeah, there's three single
Three
houses,
single
so it would be
houses, so
like
it's
a condominium.
But they share,
utility?
septic and well. I believe.
Right. So we couldn't split them. They're kind of all attached to each other and, by utilities. And there's no way to square it off to have lots that are big enough to actually be lots. So it would have to be like
So it'd be like a grandfather, could be a grandfather thing. because
or
we
like a
technically don't allow it.
condominium, with three unit condominium property.
Yeah, so that can exist in the residential multifamily district.
Mm.
So that's why that's a good fit to keep that for that portion of it.
I
I would-
like the idea of the southern half of this trying to do business and the north half to be residential
Mhm.
and see what somebody comes up with after you meet with them
Mhm.
and straighten this mess out. Cause you already got B2 there where the detailing place is, you got the big parcel here, A1 across from the church. That would be a nice business corner going up from the roundabout.
Yeah,
Right.
whatever we do with those non-conforming or whatever properties, I don't want them to be able to build condominiums there or something that they burn down.
That's the point I was trying to make is, does it have to be
Single
RM or
family.
could it all just be part of R2 and that's just a grandfathered?
We know you're not what you're supposed to be, we acknowledge you're not what you're supposed to be, but at some point you are gonna be what you're supposed to be.
Or you go away.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
That's what I mean, is it designated as R2 and if it gets developed, those would have to be.
So actually make it all R2.
Yes.
Get rid of the RM.
RM.
Yes.
Okay. So if they wanted to split that, would they still be able to split it and put in a single family home in the, what right now is R2?
I'd have to look at the R2 district standards.
I
Yeah.
just want to know if they wanted to.
Just some note where that C1 is right there,
Yeah,
that is an old sewage treatment plant.
From
On the neighboring lot to the west?
That C1 where it's A5 C1 there.
Yeah.
trailer park?
Yeah.
We
So
don't
that
have
used
an
to be the
R2.
sewage treatment plant for the mobile home park.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
there's a lot of fish in that pond. Yeah.
That C1 there,
Fantastic fishing.
well, they had
Radioactive.
something active in there.
I can release
Maybe
that.
that'll, when did we put that on? That was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay,
So the last thing in the packet for you there is just a handout regarding what shoreline zoning standards apply to villages or cities based on 2013 Wisconsin Act 80, just to give you an idea of what will be required moving forward. So that's just some light reading for you to help you fall asleep tonight. The thing to think about, and we already got some direction from this body, which was appreciated, to do the minimum. One of the things that the county regulated would be a shoreline setback. So our shoreline overlay district would have a requirement for a shoreline setback. I think you can go to 50. The status quo now is 75. In other communities where we've done this, we recommend just keeping the 75. Because everybody's familiar with it. Another thing that the county does now is they have a shoreland buffer area requirement regarding vegetative removal. It restricts, the removal of vegetation other than a viewing corridor. So you're allowed a certain width viewing corridor to look at the water body that your shoreland property is near. But you keep the rest to, maintain the shoreline, prevent erosion and sediment loading in the waterway and water quality protection and all of that. You're not technically required to do that under the Act 80. But it is something that you guys should consider whether or not you want to do moving forward. You don't have to decide tonight. We're going to come forward with a draft for your next meeting. And the other is that the county currently has certain exemptions listed within their shoreline district, and we would recommend including some of those as well moving forward. So that's something that you don't have to. And then there would be shoreline setback averaging as well. So if there's a situation where you want to develop a property and your neighbor properties are already developed, and you would be able to average the setback of what they have, as long as you don't get closer than 35 feet to the water. So that's what we're looking at.
So when we bring back the shoreline map and the shoreline ordinance itself, we're also going to bring back floodland and
Yep, a floodplain ordinance and a
floodplain.
shoreline wetland ordinance. So
and wetland.
for the-
So we'll
for the-
bring those back as
for
well.
the floodplain stuff, really, we're just doing what we have to for FEMA and the state. We're plugging in your guys' information, and the community has to decide if you're gonna want to be a part of the federal flood insurance program. And we have to apply for that if you want to. Currently people through the county were able to be a part of that. So if you want that to continue moving forward, we have to apply for that. And then for the shoreline zoning, shoreline wetland zoning, that would be a new district that would be created that would just apply to wetlands within the shoreline area. And there's certain restrictions of what you can and can't do based on the state statute for that. So really where there's some room for interpretation is in that shoreline overlay zoning district, what I was just describing. So take a look at this literature from the state, which is a pretty good summary of what you're allowed to do and how that's different than county. And we're gonna intend to have these meetings regarding the shoreline mapping with property owners, and then come back to you with a draft map. And then draft ordinances as well at your next meeting. Any questions?
Questions from anyone?
Thank you for your time.
You have a plan report tonight?
Nothing of note to report.
That is the right answer. Next item is adjournment. Moved by Joe. Is there a second? Second by Jeff. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's probably 8:43. Huh?